Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Want to show you, expose you to an organization that is looking to change our lives, change the world in many different ways. And this guy is behind all of it. The organization is called Helical, and Michael Berry joins us. I know that's a broad statement I just made, but he's better at explaining it than I am. Michael, welcome. How are you?
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. You're a nonprofit organization. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we're a 501c3. We have the 501c3 status from the IRS, and our main purpose is stasis on Earth and beyond. Stasis without the scientific definition. We have one, but without the scientific definition, we'll make it simple, is the state of existence, we'll say. So the existence of life, really. Complex systems that have the ability to generate more complex systems, I guess. Or how I define life as intentful effect. So intentful effect affects any intentful effect on a system. But either way, right. So the company, we've only got a couple of employees. We're a small tech startup for the most part. We're starting with artificial general intelligence, language learning models, that kind of thing to begin with, then working to artificial general intelligence. Once we have artificial general intelligence situated safely, our next goal will be to apply that to construction devices or robots. And then we put those hopefully on a SpaceX rocket, send them out to the asteroid belt, and then let them do their thing and build.
Interesting. Wow. So what do you say to people that aren't on board for artificial intelligence? There seems to be, we have both sides going on. Some people are loving it, fantastic. Others are panning it. What's your words to them?
Well, one of the things that we're working on is we were going to patent it, but we feel that the design is actually important enough that we should be giving it away for free. So I contacted, for example, Kamala Harris, who is the artificial intelligence czar for the government, and I sent a couple of letters out to people who were pivotal in the generation of artificial intelligence. And the design that we're trying to get people to buy into is it's a tertiary drive design. So you have a nested artificial intelligence inside of an artificial intelligence system. And the only purpose for this artificial intelligence system is to read the logs of what the main artificial intelligence robot is doing, make sure that everything is stasis based, is kosher, I think, is another acceptable adjective. And as a result of that, if the robot or if the artificial intelligence decides that it would be in the best interest of itself or whatever, for whatever reason, to be destructive and to start destroying things, the nested artificial intelligence has the ability to shut down the power to the main artificial intelligence system. So it has to do with the way that the circuit design works, that the circuit gets completed through the nested artificial intelligence system. And so as a result of that, when the nested artificial intelligence system just shuts itself down, the whole robot shuts down. So some people have likened this to like an internal monologue that a person has, sort of like a secondary internal system, sort of like I've heard it once referred to as a conscious or as a conscience, like a little sort of artificial intelligence system inside that can't be tampered with by the artificial intelligence system. And the design will allow for the ability for the AGI to have a good balance of overwatch as well as an internal system for, like I said, as someone described it, would be a digital conscience, basically. And then as far as all those things, I'm hopeful that we're able to get if in the ideal world, in the most ideal conditions, we'd be able to get one person for every robot that would be able to basically oversee what they're doing, make sure that everything is moving accordingly the way that that would be that would be in the best interest of the whole building project, and making sure everything is in a fairly medial, like they're like basically, the easiest way to say it is that everything will be um, uh, on time, if you want to call it that. Um, um, but um, but yeah, I guess if we were able to design a system around human robot or artificial intelligence based, like harmony, if you want to call it, that's what our CEO calls it. She calls it harmony. Um, Based on that harmony, then I really honestly think we could do so much to generate an incredible amount of jobs. For example, it's probably not going to be too intensive to it could even be entry level to oversee some of what these robots are doing. I mean, given a quick, like a workup, however long the workup would take on personnel. So as far as training people, hey, this is what this robot is doing. This is what it's supposed to be doing. Can you ensure that this robot is continuously performing its task? Things like that. And then we can do like 3 shifts of people or whatever, and then per robot or whatever it is. That way we can keep building and keep construction on, as long as or as much as we possibly can, so that we can get this thing built.
Do you feel, or is this the end goal? Tell us this. It sounded like in the very beginning you said to put these AI robots on a SpaceX um, mission, and it sounds like create colonies in space. Is that kind of the end game?
Yeah. Our goal is to find some space architects, and the the task of actually building this structure that will hopefully house all life, both while Earth is here, but after Earth as well, um, will sufficiently be large enough, will sufficiently be able. Our first hurdle, actually, in that whole task and process is we're trying to do something very special with a material that's found um, pretty easily in the asteroid belt. It's very common. It's a very common material, and so what we're trying to do is we're trying to take this material, and we're trying to turn it into basically a special material that gives it the ability to last for. And this is a scientific estimate. Somewhere around 10 to the 100 years.
I'm not scientific. What does that mean?
Oh, so that would be 10 followed by 10 to the 100 zeros. So that's how many years these structures would theoretically last if we
Wow.
were able to design, if we were able to build this or get the material to do what we're trying to get it to do.
Do you think it's time wise, and it's very hard to put any kind of timeline on any of this, but if everything goes into place based on your vision and your plan, uh, when could that possibly be achieved? Now I'm talking about, high level stuff here, colonies in space and all of that. But what do you think?
Honestly, um, uh, okay, so I would honestly, I would first ask Professor Dr. Michio Kaku on this, because he's a futurist, and so he has a tendency of being able to describe some of our future technologies, I think, maybe a little bit more articulately than I can.
Sure.
But my anticipation is, as far as like the company projection or whatever it is you want to call it, I'm saying probably we should have the first one. We should have the first one solidly built, enough that we could start transporting life onto it within probably, I'd say, the next 200 years.
And what do you, since it's a nonprofit, from the general public, what are you looking for? Is it financial support? Tell us about that.
Right. Well, right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a store online. So if they want to check out our website, our new website is chiraltechnology.com, CHIRAL technology.com. We're going to put a web store in there with merchandise. It's just going to be helical stuff, shirts, hats, that kind of thing. Right now, we're selling a book. I'm technically selling a book under the name Helical, and it just sort of happens to be affiliated with or it just sort of happens to have the same name as the company, but the same. It's kind of the mission statement. But that book is available on Barnes and Noble and Amazon.com. It's called Natural Philosophy by Helical, is the name of the author. Besides those things, we're actually we're actually a research and development technology company also. Some of the places that we're going into, we're looking for angel investors, venture capital would be great. Like I said, right now we're focusing on a very specific product, products. And those two products are, number one, using language learning models for medical application. And that's to free up doctors and nurses and things from paperwork. Basically, it'll auto fill out your paperwork. So as you sit there with the doctor, hopefully this system will listen in to your conversation. It will transcribe the conversation to text. It'll convert the text into all the appropriate forms. So when the doctor goes to basically send you a prescription, the only thing that the doctor has to do is go, hey, artificial intelligence system or language learning model, send the prescription to 1234 Main Street, wherever, and let them pick their script up. And the patient should be able to theoretically should be able to go to the pharmacy and pick up their script based on that system. So the hope is that we're getting rid of paperwork for healthcare and for healthcare professionals. That's one of our big ones. The next thing I think that is super, super important. We're trying to build a language learning model that specializes in legalese. The goal is we're going to take bills such as HR, whatever. It summarizes the bill and it allows it for average citizens to understand exactly what's going on with the bill. So if if their representative tries to put in, we're going to put in $1 million to see if fish can drink alcohol, because that was actually an actual government study.
Wow.
Yeah. It was an actual government study, so they call it pork. And so if a representative wants to put pork in for their district or whatever it is, this language learning model has the ability to go, this bill says 90% of it is about making sure everyone wears their seatbelts, but this 10% of this bill is going to be making sure fish don't drink alcohol, or like whatever it is. And really what the hope is by training one of these language learning models on legalese and to be able to understand the nature of that particular specialized language. The hope is that people will be able to interact with their local government and their federal government or whatever their setup is around the world. Hopefully they'll be able to basically whoever regulates their social contract. And whatever the process is for that regulation of that social contract. We're hoping this will be able to facilitate a way that even people who cannot, if you can't read, I mean, the most extreme example, this thing could be easily speech to text or text to speech. The summary will go through the bill, we'll read everything, we'll give you a nice summary, and then you can interact with it in a way that you can say, does it say this? Does it say this? Is there any of this in there? Is there any of that in there? The ultimate goal there is making governance of the social contract more transparent and accessible to make it more entry level to people who are trying to support the infrastructure behind the subject matter experts. So for example, if you have all of a sudden you have let's just take one of my local representatives is Senator Hickenlooper. So for example, what we would be able to do is we'd be able to say, hey, Senator Hickenlooper, your staff can use this to read all these bills and do all these things and to figure out what's going on. It'll database all of that information, and they give you a visual database with a tree. So you can see, oh, this bill's connected to this bill with this semantics. This bill's connected to this bill with this semantics. And then you'll be able to see. And then for data scientists, they'll be able to go through and do, like all sorts of fun stuff with, what are the more laws coming out this year? What do we notice in terms of how effective are these laws impacting, this group of people or something, or this demographic or whatever?
I got to tell you, Michael, this is fascinating. We're just about out of time, but I do want to share with you, just what you said, like a representation up on a screen where a bill is connected, what a great idea. I have friends that do medical billing, and they're just like, it's a whole mess. And there's lots of big money behind this in terms of getting insurance companies to pay. But it almost sounds like a movie where they would see it up on a screen. And to me, it's 2023. It should be that way. But I got to tell you, when we first started talking and you talked about SpaceX and that aspect of the project, it sounded like the pie in the sky. That would be great if that could ever happen. But you also gave examples of real practical, to me, I'm somewhat of a geek, very attainable things. So you guys have a lot of good stuff going on there. How do we find you? How do we find out more about the nonprofit?
Yeah. So our main website right now is chiraltechnology.com, CHIRAL technology.com, or helicalnetwork.com. It'll take you right to the new webpage. Sure. That, or you can reach out to us. I think our emails are on there. There's a contact us on the webpage. I'm very grateful to everyone that has helped us so far and that has helped us get to where we are, and I'm very grateful to yourself as well, because you're right, when you provide the mission statement, it can be very like, oh wow, that sounds great for you guys, and then when we get into the tangible sort of aspect of like, oh yeah, here's a really good first step of like some of the things that we can do. I'm grateful that people are able to be like, wow, yeah, that's attainable, that's reasonable. Like, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and it does sound that way. And in the the latter examples you gave, it's stuff that is, I feel, useful. And so yeah, I wish you all the best and look forward next time we get together to learn some more.
Thank you, sir.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.